One of my jokes is that CFOs, they're the guys at the party that are standing against the wall checking to make sure their shoes are tied. I worked with many of the clients that I was in. We were a funding hedge fund, not an arbitrage. So I had several clients that I'd put facilities with, 25 to $100 million facilities.
What is the nonprofit or foundation or purpose that you would want people to be aware of and either donate time or money to?
Hey, Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing super fantastic, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed.
Yes.
Cannot complain.
What about the being blessed, the last thing?
I said, I am blessed. I cannot complain.
I love that. I love that. I noticed that you're part of C12, and I don't know if there's a C12 up here in Green Bay where I am. I need to look that up and see. There's got to be a local group.
Probably is. They're nationwide and they're in most major cities. I could look them up really quickly, but it is something. It's worthwhile. Let's put it that way. So, I'm going to go through the app and see what I've got in Green Bay. Let's see, member directory. I don't want to search members. Forum directory. Industry. Well, okay, not getting it that way. Territory, search forums, Green Bay. Let's see if I can do it that way. Oops, if I spell green right, probably be helpful. Hate it when those things are going, so. There is Northeast Wisconsin, Green Bay, second Thursday of the month. Chris Wise.
I've heard that name before.
If you want it, I'll give you the info. I'll put it in the Slack and
yes, please do.
Yeah, we'll see if we can't get. I always am supportive of that, and there you go.
I love it. Thank you.
Sure. So I like you. I got multiple screens, so I am focused, but I have to do that all day long.
Yes. What does your setup look like?
I've got 4 screens, 32-inch TV monitors.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in detail or on video like this, all day long. So I don't need to squinch at anything. So I've got it to where I can see it across the room if I have to. But reality is, that was like one of the things I was working on just prior to this. I'm building out a deal for a CPA firm where, my controller said, a CPA firm has hired us to be their CFO. And I said, just because they do tax returns doesn't mean they know how to run a business. So we've been with them now 3 years and put a 30% increase on them last year. And looks like we might hit 50% this year. Developed out from a 1-floor operation, half a floor on 1 floor to on 3 floors in the building. And now it's like, okay, you got the space. We got to get the people in here so that we can continue this growth. So that literally was the conversation that, okay, next week we're going to meet out there. We're going to go through your KPIs and start looking at your manpower, flipping your manpower that's in individual returns over to your corporate returns while you finish those out under this corporate deadline. And how do we do that and start the training now and have it for next year to where you're fully doing, and then we're going to start an advisory service. So, that's my job is not only make sure the books are right, that's kind of back of hand stuff, but once you've got them, then what are you going to do with them? So my desire is to help companies grow, build, take them up from wherever they are, sometimes further than they ever expected. So we love that. We've got one company that we got them when they were 3.5 years ago, got them at 14 million. They're now running 60 million. We're in the process of an acquisition that will put them on an 80 million run rate. And we're about halfway through the quality of earnings and due diligence on that to buy that company for them. And we go out and get the funding for them. So, that's try to be a one-stop shop when it comes to the financial capital stack.
That's a specialty area today where you can do it all together rather than we have all these other people or we don't even know who you should trust, because that's a scary area for a company that you can bring in the wrong people.
Oh, you can. And, at this point, I've been doing the fractional world for almost 10 years. Interim prior to that, I was a hedge fund director in 2008 when we ran into the financial crisis and the hedge fund was hit with $3.5 billion Ponzi from a borrower and hit 21 total hedge funds. But that gave me an opportunity to do something different. And I worked with many of the clients that I was in. And we were a funding hedge fund, not an arbitrage. So I had several clients that I'd put facilities with, 25 to $100 million facilities, and then I helped them get refunded somewhere else. And then after we did that, went with them to go in and get their structure in their company to where we could reduce their mitigant issues to take them to a bank.
Mm-hmm.
We'd get them out of double-digit interest down to single interest.
Yes.
And but that kind of went on its way. And in 2016, I got into the fractional world almost by accident, but I started building out a network group. So now I'm in a group called C-Suite Network, but I have a council in there called C-Suite Support Network. And the mother company is 20,000 members, and then we have a few hundred that we work with. And inside that, I have a group of I call it a CEO Alliance Council, and we're one of the 9 councils of C-Suite Network nationally. So it gives me an opportunity to work with a lot of companies, a lot of people, helping them figure out what they want to do when they grow up, or helping them with their businesses where they are.
Amazing. So today, I'm glad you did that intro. Today is a symmetry call where you and I can talk about the podcast that I'm trying to see whether you're a fit for it or not. And you can say the same thing where you can be like, Mark, this is a fit, or no, I don't want to do this just now or ever. I want it to be something that you actually see benefit in doing.
I just say on a general rule, I do a podcast, which is also shown on TV with C-Suite Network twice a month now. And it's the podcast is called CEO Talks. And I bring in CEOs of companies that have an opportunity to help somebody with something. And the one we did yesterday was with a group that is a merger acquisition group. And they've got 40 transactions in some stage of a process right now, meaning buy side, sell side, or advisor side. And we work with them to do that. So we had an hour-long podcast yesterday. So podcasts are things I think can help both of us. Just a matter of whether I fit the vertical or the genre in which you're running in.
Sounds good. The podcast that I put together is called the Close with One podcast, the Untold CEO Sales Stories. And so these untold stories show people what it was like for you to come through your formative years, that maybe the mistakes that you made and the things that you learned along the way that you would share with CEOs, sales directors, and kind of show them the ropes of the things that you picked up and learned, that it might help them go a little faster along the way in their journey. And this series that I'm doing now is specifically interviewing CFOs, how they have gone through their journey and what they would say to other CFOs that are trying to figure out how do I build out what I'm doing and transfer skills of other people that are really familiar with sales so they can be more successful in their practices.
Okay. Well, certainly it sounds interesting to me. Ironically, one of my clients is a sales training group, like Sandler basically is part of one of his competitors.
Mm-hmm.
And he he's very active, he's considered the number one sales guru in the country by 3 or 4 different groups. And I was doing the CFO work and came in to completely revamp his internal controls and how he handled clients, because there's how many acceptable drop babies are there? And when it comes to clients, it's 0.
Mhm.
So we restructured his entire deal. Well, in the process, he wanted me to take his tests that he does for all of the recruiting and for all of the people in the companies that he trains. And he came back to me and he said, "All right, I want to know, your scores came back as a stronger salesperson than I am. I called the CEO of the company that provides us all of the tests and see if there's any way you can trick this test." He says no. So what's up? So at any rate, I do try to close. I do try to close in one call too, but that doesn't always work. But the reality is, we I started off my career as a CFO. Oh, actually, in the accounting department, I was over 1,000 locations with a little company called Montgomery Ward. And when they started running into their issues, I was offered the VP over accounting and accounting functions, and my wife explained to me, Peisner came in after he turned around Dayton Hudson Target, and he came in after Mobile divested Montgomery Ward. And he offered me an opportunity to go into that. And she explained to me, we've just been through 60 days of snow on the ground. You can appreciate that in Green Bay.
Yes.
She says, I'm going home. So if you don't mind commuting, you can take that job, but I'm going back to Dallas. So that kind of set the stage that, the guy that was doing this, forgot my name, Feisner, he explained to me, he said, "Man, I've made the offer. I would just want you to know, if you say no to this, your career is right where you are for the rest of your term here." Well, it was a good decision. They turned over 42 out of 43 VPs over the following 8 months at Montgomery Ward through just a bloodbath. The last 6 months of my job there was terminating 32,000 employees across the country.
Wow.
Man, talk about putting you in a depression, that did. So I came back to Dallas, went to work for a small $6 million retailer as a CFO. Within 14 months, had progressed to take over the COO, the CMO, and became general manager, and went on 18% per month compounded growth for the next 4 years. So slowed down after that because just sheer size, but we grew it from 6 million to 180 million over the next 6 years. And thought that, that was fun. And then we hit the S&L crisis of the 80s, and all the lenders fell out of the marketplace. And my lender went under, and I couldn't replace it. So that put me in a liquidation of my $87 million facility I was signed on, which we did, liquidated it out, got it done. And in the process, the guys I was working with, they said, if you can borrow 87 million, I bet you can figure out how to lend it. So I went in the lending world. So for the next 15 years, I was commercial lender, 3 different companies. The first one with $7 billion in assets and $2 billion in the bank, went into bankruptcy, and that's pretty hard to do.
Oh, wow.
That was Fanova Capital. And then I went over to Capital Source. I'd had the opportunity to try to sell my portfolio at Fanova. I'd grown it from 340 million to 1.2 billion as the business development manager there with Fanova over 4.5 years. And then when they got into trouble, they finally gave me the authorization to go out and sell my portfolio. And Capital Source was one of the 12 companies that were wanting to come in and look at it. Well, the week before I had Textron in, but GE went in adversarially after Fanova, putting them towards bankruptcy. So that stopped the sale of anything for presidential, closings. So the guy at Cap Source, he said, "Well, I can't buy it, but do you think you could do it again?" And what are you going to say? Of course. So went over to Capital Source, and over the next 5 years grew a portfolio with them up to 1.3 billion. And then they decided to become a REIT, real estate investment trust,
Mm-hmm.
which forced them to be, at that time anyway, forced them to be 80% mortgage related products. And the only product that had that kind of growth situation was subprime mortgage. And I couldn't see the quality or the benefit of doing subprime mortgage lending. So I had an opportunity to go over to Hedge Fund and go back into the lending world. And that was with Surge Capital out of Chicago, over in Northbrook, pretty close to your area.
Mm.
Fortunately, I was still able to stay in Dallas. That was criteria for all of this. I worked out of an office in Dallas, and I over the next, that was a little bit harder money. When you go to hedge fund, I was bad enough at Finova. They called us two over, because we were always two over our competition, two over prime, and Cap Source. Yeah, I had great deals. I could go out with prime plus two there, but I had floors of 10, which made it a little tougher to do, but we got out there. But needless to say, the return on investment was phenomenal.
Mm.
And got over to the hedge fund. Well, now I'm in 12 to 14% money. So it took a little longer to grow that portfolio, got it to 500 million. And then 2008, they were hit with the borrower Ponzi, and that put me out there with 245,000 other real financial services guys. So I'm sure you can remember that area. You might
Yes.
not have been in the same position you're in now. You're a little bit younger than I am, but that was a tough time. So, at any rate, that's kind of the transition migration. Then I did the interim thing for about 4 years, 4.5 years. And the difference between interim is you're working with one or two companies at a time, and they are very time consuming. You're 30, 40 hours with one or both. And then you have cliffs. You don't have time to market. You don't have time to go out and do anything with that. So I decided that, the last time that I had one of 50% of my income drop, and I lost several $1,000,000 when that hedge fund went down.
Oh.
I was out there because I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I have an income drop of 50%, I would notice it. But that's why I got into the fractional world. Much more predictable. If you lose a client, you may lose 15% of your income, but you don't lose 50%. And then fortunately, because I do have the salesmanship qualities, I can get clients. And one of my jokes is that CFOs, they're the guys at the party that are standing against the wall checking to make sure their shoes are tied. They're not working the room. They're not out there. And I am a unicorn CFO. And the fact that I've been in businesses helping them grow, that's where when I sat down with a little lady named Paula Calise, who's the number one executive recruiter in Texas and like number 8 in the country, she sat down. We were talking. I was looking for whatever opportunity I could do. This was early 2014, 15. And she said, well, I've talked to over 50 CFOs over the last 2 months, and I can't tell you apart from any one of them. You need to have personal branding. And so we talked about that for a minute. She said, based on what you told me, you're a fractional CFO that can help companies grow exponentially. Well, trust me, that became my moniker and still is to this day. And we're still good friends to today. She's been on a podcast. Well, she made presentations of a network group. I grew it to about 540 people here in Dallas. And now I've folded that into C-Suite Network because we meet once a month, and I don't have time to do 2 a month. So we meet once a month, and we have 90 to 150 people show up every third Wednesday here in Dallas for a mixture with podcast. And part of the deal is you got to be a VP or higher in a company to be a member. So you either own the company or you're an executive in the company to be a member of the group.
And it's a paid membership or no?
Yeah, there's 20,000, roughly 20,000 paid members.
Wow.
So that's kind of you got the whole crux in a 5-minute oration there.
I love it. I love it. And part of the podcast that I do is I ask each guest, what is the nonprofit or foundation or purpose that you would want people to be aware of and either donate time or money to, that is something that's important to you and in your heart and your purpose?
Well, I'd say I've got probably three. One is our church, Prestonwood Baptist Church. 10% of the proceeds of everything of our company goes there. In addition to that, we also support the pregnancy center. I have two clients that are pregnancy companies. Being C12, we're very much in pro-life, and they saved. I think they're up to 72,000 babies out of the Prestonwood Pregnancy Center now.
Wow.
And they had 33,000 people visit them last year alone. Now, the other two are much smaller. They're one of them is almost national, and they had about 16,000 people last year. And the other one is more regional, and they had I believe it was 7,000 last year. Real Options and Human Coalition are the names of the other companies. So, or nonprofits. So definitely support those. And then the last piece of that is my daughter has been a missionary, been on missionary trips. She's a teach the teacher missionary, teaches people how to teach as missionaries. Just got back from Africa. So we certainly support that. But she's also, the fact that she's a member of my company, and she does corporate culture and short 30-second sidebar. She does Dream Manager as well. If you're not familiar with Dream Manager, you should be. Dream Manager with Matthew Trent. It doesn't set out as a faith-based, but everything in it is faith-based. We're doing that with a bank down here, 2,200 employee bank, First United Bank down here. She also has done it with a couple of other companies. But one of the companies we put her in 3 years ago, that we went in, changed it from transactional to tech-driven, took their EBITDA up from 700,000 a year 4 years ago to 12 million last year, and sold it for a little over 120 million. And the PE firm that came in looking at it, one of the comments in a conference meeting with her in the room said, we've got several companies we're looking at to buy, but the reason this one still comes to the top is the quality of the culture of this company. And we want to look at doing Dream Manager and some of our other portfolio companies. So we support that as well.
Okay. Wow. Based upon our conversation so far and the little that I've shared, do you want to be on the podcast, or is this not a fit for you?
Well, I think it's a fit. The question I would have is, what is your reach and frequency? I don't know that much about your podcast versus a podcast.
I just started this, and I've recorded 12 episodes, and my team is starting the process of editing 4. And so I'm early on, and I've been finding remarkable people that work with Simon Sinek, that do high impact things in their work. And I like highlighting stories that aren't shared often, that give people a remarkable vision as to how to really connect with people through Christ first, through the heart. And I like how you talked about how it's based on faith, but it's not outwardly proselytizing and doing that kind of thing. But I look for people that match that piece of them, and others that are looking to learn, how is it that I can sell to people in an authentic way that doesn't feel like sales? It feels like, to use your words, almost like missionary-based sales, where you're there to listen and serve, and then find a way for them to transform with you as a guide. But the Holy Spirit is the one that really does the work.
So, Have you been on our website?
No, I haven't been on your site.
Okay, the reason I mentioned that, whoops, wait a minute, what have I got going here? Leadership Global. Actually, I do have a call coming up, and like right now.
Okay.
Would you be available in 30 minutes?
Let's see. I just checked my calendar a moment ago. Let me double check. So I am available in 30 minutes. I can just take this and push it out. How's that sound?
Okay, I do a lot of servant leadership calls, so I talk with people about their companies themselves, what I can do to help them.
Okay.
And I've got one of those coming up right now. So is this your calendar event or is it mine?
It's
Just,
mine, and I just changed it. So if you look in your email, you'll see I already moved it out by 30
all
minutes.
right. Okay, well, I'll be back to you in 30 minutes.
Okay. See you then, Paul.
Look at the website. The key thing to look for there is Buffalo culture.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.